I should have just handed her the screwdriver and walked out. But her fingers brushed mine, and I forgot what I came for. It started like nothing. She just moved in a few weeks ago, 2 doors down. Her car hadn't arrived yet, and her name wasn't on the mailbox, but she knocked anyway. Said something about a loose cabinet hinge, something about not wanting to bother the landlord. She didn't feel like a neighbor, though. She felt like someone I wasn't supposed to know. I'm 23. Not a handyman, not a genius. Just a guy who sometimes pretends to know how things work when a woman's voice sounds like that. Low, calm, no smile, but not cold. She was maybe mid-40s. Dark hair pulled back, strands loose at the temple. No makeup, bare feet. There was this slowness to her, like she only moved when she meant to. I can do it myself, she said, leading me inside. But I figured 2 hands were better than 1. I don't remember agreeing. I just followed her into that quiet, echoey apartment. A single mug on the counter. A folded blanket on the couch. The hinge was hanging off the upper cabinet like a mouth half open. I tried not to stare at her too long. She didn't offer her name. I didn't ask. She stood close, though, not enough to touch, but close enough that I noticed the warmth from her arm. She smelled like rain and old books. When I knelt to check the screws, I dropped one. It rolled toward her bare foot. I went to reach for it, and her foot didn't move. We both hesitated. I swear it lasted longer than it should have. Do you live alone? I asked, instantly regretting it. Her silence answered first. Then she said softly, I try not to. I looked up. She was already looking at me. Not flirty. Not coy. Just looking. Like she was trying to decide something important. The screw felt cold in my hand. The air had changed. I started to say something dumb. Maybe about the weather. But she cut me off, whispering, Don't ask questions. I swallowed. She bent down beside me, slow again. Her shoulder touched mine. Just feel with me, she said. It wasn't what she said. It was how she said it, like she didn't want to be heard, only felt. And then she reached for the cabinet door with me, her hand grazing mine. Not by accident. The cabinet door was fixed. But she didn't move. Neither did I. Her hand lingered near mine, not holding, just hovering. Like both of us knew pulling away would break something neither of us wanted to name. This isn't. I started. But the words stayed in my mouth. This isn't what? I wasn't supposed to be here this long. I was on my way to the store. I'd told my roommate I'd be back in 10 minutes. It had already been 30. She stood slowly, brushing her palm along the counter as if grounding herself. You okay? I asked too quietly. She looked at me with something unreadable. Tired eyes, but not weak. Something deeper, like she hadn't let herself feel anything real in a long time. You remind me of someone I used to know, she said, almost to herself. I didn't answer. I didn't know if she meant that as a compliment or a warning. I shouldn't say that, she added with a faint smile, her eyes not leaving mine. And there it was again, that strange pull. She wasn't flirting. She wasn't trying. But everything about her felt like a secret. A slow, silent invitation to get lost in something I didn't fully understand. I noticed her hands, delicate, but marked with little signs of life, a faint burn near her thumb, a small scar along her knuckle. She had lived in ways I hadn't yet. And yet I felt more awake in that moment than I had in years. You live alone? I asked again, stupidly, like I forgot I'd already asked. This time, she didn't dodge. For the first time in a while, she said. Then added, He left last spring. Took the dog. Left the books. Her laugh was short, bitter, and then her voice softened. You ever notice how quiet an apartment gets after someone stops coming home? I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. She turned, walked to the small window, and stood there with her arms crossed. The late afternoon light made her hair look darker, her outline softer. I hated that cabinet, she whispered. Every time it creaked, it reminded me of him slamming it shut. Like it was my fault he couldn't find the sugar. That got to me. Not because I understood, but because I wanted to. I could, look at the rest, I offered. If anything else needs fixing. She turned slightly, her face still in shadow. You always offer help to women twice your age. I froze, unsure if she was teasing or warning me. No, I said. Just this one. That silence again, charged, too long, too much. Then she stepped closer. Her fingers brushed my arm, light as breath. Stay a little longer, she said. Not a question. Not quite a command. I nodded before my brain caught up to my mouth. She made tea. Rooibos, she said, no caffeine? I sat at the edge of the couch, hands in my lap like a kid who didn't know the rules of the room. The place was too quiet again. No TV. No music. Just the faint hum of the kettle and the sound of her moving behind me. When she came back, she handed me a mismatched mug. It was chipped at the rim. Her thumb brushed mine again, and stayed there just a second too long. I haven't had anyone over in months, she said, sinking into the armchair across from me. Not even friends. I nodded, taking a sip to hide how dry my throat had suddenly gone. The tea was still too hot, but I drank anyway. She leaned her head back, eyes closed. I forgot what it feels like to be looked at without being compared to a younger version of myself. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't look away. You don't do that, she added. You look like you see me now. Her words caught me off guard. My grip on the mug tightened. I should have laughed. Shrugged. Played it off. But my chest felt tight, not in a bad way. Just full. I do see you, I said. Quietly. She opened her eyes and looked right at me. That same gaze from earlier. Still unreadable. Still pulling me deeper. I should probably head out soon, I said finally. You don't want to, she replied, almost too quickly. I looked down at the mug. That obvious? She didn't answer. But the silence said enough. Then a knock. Not loud. Just a soft, uncertain tapping from the door. She froze. So did I. Her expression shifted fast, like something had snapped back into place. She stood, quietly walked to the door, didn't open it. Just listened. Another knock. Then a man's voice, muffled. Mira? You home? I looked toward her. Mira. She didn't move. Her hand was on the doorknob, but she didn't turn it. The voice tried again. I left my book. You said I could, I'm busy, she called out flatly. No apology. No explanation. Silence. Then footsteps retreating down the hallway. She waited a moment longer before turning back to me. Her expression had changed, harder now, but only on the surface. Her eyes still held that same ache from before. Who was that? I asked before I could stop myself. Someone who thought he still had permission, she said, walking back to her chair. He doesn't. I didn't ask more. I didn't need to. She sat again. A little closer this time. Do you want to leave now? She asked. I should have said yes. I should have stood. But instead I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, heart racing. And said, What happens if I stay? Then don't move. Her voice wasn't seductive. It was tired. Honest. Like someone too worn down to play pretend anymore. The kind of voice that only surfaces when a person's finally stopped hiding from themselves. I didn't move. Not because I was frozen, but because I didn't want to break the spell. The air between us felt dense, like if we made one wrong move, it would all disappear. She set her mug down untouched. Crossed one leg over the other, fingers lightly brushing the rim of her knee. I caught myself staring at the motion, slow, deliberate. Everything she did seemed measured. Controlled. Except her eyes. They were slipping. I told myself I wasn't allowed this, she said. Her voice was barely audible. Not again. Not after what I did to him. To myself. You don't have to explain, I said, almost too quickly. My voice cracked, embarrassingly. She looked at me, sharp, then soft. But I want to. And there it was. The shift. The distance between us vanished. He was younger too, she said. Not as young as you, but close enough for people to talk. I thought I was rescuing him. Turns out I was just filling space in myself that I hadn't dealt with. I broke him. She paused. Blinked slowly. And I blamed him for not being strong enough. I didn't know how to respond. My chest ached, not for her, exactly. For something in both of us. I'm not him, I said. I know, she replied. But I'm still me. That's the problem. A beat of silence. I think about you, I confessed. More than I should. Even when I didn't know your name. That caught her. Her breath hitched, just slightly. She turned her face toward the window, like she needed the outside world to keep from looking straight at me. I think about you too, she said. That's why I almost didn't knock that day. I knew once I let you in. She trailed off. Her voice was steadier now. I knew I wouldn't want you to leave. And then, we both stood. At the same time. No words exchanged. Just movement. Like our bodies couldn't sit still under the weight of everything anymore. We faced each other. Barely inches apart. The only sound was the low creak of the floor beneath us. She reached out first, hand resting lightly on my chest. Not romantic. Not yet. Just a touch. Like she needed to know I was real. I ruin things, she whispered. Especially when I care. I looked down at her hand. My heart was racing. And I knew she could feel it. Then ruin me, I said quietly. But don't lie to yourself about what this is. Her hand didn't move. Neither did I. We just stood there, surrounded by everything we weren't saying. Would you still want me in the morning? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, but because I did. She saw it in my face. And maybe, just for a moment, she let herself believe it. Her hand slipped down from my chest, and I thought the moment would finally give into itself. Then her phone buzzed. She didn't move to check it. She just stared at me like the world outside that screen didn't matter, until it buzzed again. And again. 3 times. Same rhythm. Like a knock, but colder. She sighed, stepped away, and reached for it on the counter. I saw her face change as she read the message. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was worse, resignation. She turned the screen toward me. I saw you. Should I tell him where you are? No name. No context. But I suddenly felt the ground shift beneath us. She lowered the phone. Didn't explain right away. That was from my ex's daughter, she said quietly. He and we were together for years. I helped raise her from middle school to college. She loved me. Until she didn't. I stepped back, trying to process. So she followed you? She knows where I moved. She thinks I'm broken. Maybe I am. A pause. She still texts when she wants to remind me that I'm not allowed to be happy. That's not her call, I said, firmer than I expected. She doesn't get to shame you for moving on. She's not wrong, Mira said. I left them. When things got hard, I shut down and walked away. I broke trust. I didn't try to fix anything, I just vanished. Her voice trembled now, not with tears, but with that dry kind of guilt people carry in their bones. And now you're here, she said. And I'm doing it again. Pretending that whatever this is, whatever we are, isn't going to hurt someone. I stepped closer. You didn't pretend when you opened that door. Silence. You didn't pretend when you touched my arm. Or when you asked me to stay. She didn't deny it. But she didn't meet my eyes either. I'm not part of your past, I added. I'm right here. Right now. And I'm not asking for anything except the truth. She looked at me then. For real. Everything open, no walls. I thought I was teaching you something, she said. But you're the only one who's made me feel honest in years. I took her hand gently, thumb brushing over that old scar on her knuckle. And now you're scared, I whispered. She nodded once. Almost imperceptibly. Then let me be the one who stays, I said. He's coming here. Her voice didn't rise. It fell, like it had weight. Like she'd been carrying this moment long before it ever arrived. I stood still. Every part of me wanted to reach for her, pull her into something warm, protective, but she was already stepping back. I didn't ask for this, she said, not to me. To herself. I just wanted one afternoon where I didn't feel like a ghost in my own skin. You think I came here for pity? I asked quietly. Her eyes snapped back to mine. No. That's the problem. You came here real. And I don't know what to do with real anymore. She turned her back to me, walking to the kitchen window like she needed distance. Like she needed an escape that didn't look like a person. He still has a key, she whispered. And he's the kind of man who lets himself in. I stepped forward. Then tell him not to. You don't understand, she said. He doesn't need me back. He just doesn't want anyone else having me. Especially not someone like you. She meant younger. She meant unashamed. She meant someone who sees her and wants to stay. Mira, I said. She turned slowly. You don't owe anyone the version of yourself that hurts to live in. She blinked fast, like that sentence had struck someplace tender. I'm not ashamed of being here, I said, meaning every word now. I'm not ashamed of you. If he shows up, I'll leave if that's what you need. But I won't pretend this didn't matter. Her jaw trembled slightly. What do you want from me? I stepped closer again, no space between us now. I want the woman who opened the door, I said. The one who didn't flinch when I said I saw her. She looked up at me, her breath uneven. You really saw me? I still do. She nodded once, a small, breaking motion, then placed her hand on my chest again, like earlier. Only this time it stayed. I want to stop running, she whispered. I just don't know where to start. Then start right here. Outside, a car door slammed. We both froze. Heavy footsteps up the stairs. Her hand tightened slightly in my shirt. I should tell him not to come in, she said. I nodded. Then go tell him. I'll wait. She hesitated. Then walked slowly to the door, exhaled, and opened it a crack. A low voice came through. I couldn't hear what he said. But I saw her posture change. Straightened. She wasn't afraid anymore. "I'm not yours anymore," I heard her say. She closed the door, locked it, turned back to me. Her breathing was uneven, but she was smiling. Barely. "You're still here," she said, stunned. I nodded once. "Told you I would be," she said. "Then stay until morning." And I did. Not for her. Not just for me. But for the version of both of us that finally felt like we were choosing something real. Not running, not hiding, not performing. The apartment looked different by morning. Same furniture. Same light. But something had shifted. Her presence wasn't floating anymore. It had settled. So had mine. She made eggs. I burnt the toast. We didn't pretend it was romantic. It was awkward and quiet and domestic in a way that felt earned. Honest. I sat at the table watching her hum under her breath as she stirred something in the pan, and I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of the age difference. Not of what people might say. Not even of the past that clung to her like a second skin. Because she wasn't afraid either. She told me about the girls she raised. How she used to braid her hair for school and leave notes in her lunchbox. How she still dreamed about her. How guilt and love sometimes lived in the same place. She told me she wasn't good at lasting things. That she had a habit of choosing people who made her feel needed, then resenting them for needing too much. And I told her I wasn't trying to fix her. That I just wanted a beginning, not a promise. She laughed at that. "No one's ever offered me a beginning before. Just expectations." Later, we sat on the floor. No reason. Just sat. Legs stretched, backs against the couch. Her head leaned on my shoulder. My arm found its way around her like it had always known where to go. No door knocked. No phones buzzed. No ghost showed up to haunt us. Just quiet. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was full. Before I left, just before noon, she walked me to the door. Her fingers lingered at my collar, smoothing it even though it didn't need fixing. "I don't know what happens next," she said. "Neither do I," I replied. "But you'll come back?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I didn't have to. I kissed her. Soft, brief, certain. Not to seal something. Not to conquer anything. Just to say yes. And when I left, she didn't look afraid. She just watched. Like someone who had finally stopped waiting for something to fall apart. Everything changed. Not in some dramatic, cinematic way. But in the way people change when they're finally seen, not for who they were, or who they pretended to be, but for who they are when the door closes, and someone chooses to stay anyway. I didn't fix her. She didn't save me. But we met in the middle of the silence, and neither of us ran this time. Movie camera, did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Forbidden romance, unexpected love, healing after heartbreak? Let us know in the comments. Your next story might be inspired by you. Red Heart.